Hello everyone, it's Customer Service Week at iContact and we are having a blast celebrating it. We've had dress-up days, breakfast deliveries, and even some raffle prizes for our technical support reps. And today we actually wanted to do something to give back to you, our customers. So to that end, I want to thank you for attending today's webinar, The 4 Forces of Customer Service. My name is David Curtis and I am iContact's multimedia producer. I'll be moderating today's presentation with our special guest, Sarah Stealey, who you will meet very shortly. Now, the purpose of today's presentation is to learn the 4 key forces that shape your organization's customer service experience. Then you're going to learn ways that you can actively improve your organization's level of customer service. And to achieve that purpose, we are going to introduce you here to Sarah Stealey, our Senior Vice President of Customer Support. Then we're going to individually explain each of the 4 forces. We're going to tell you how to handle difficult customers. And then we're going to provide examples of businesses that do provide great customer service. And at the end of this presentation, we will definitely have a Q&A session. I also want to draw your attention to this hashtag down below on the slide. If you are using Twitter at all today and you want to tweet that you're attending this webinar, feel free to use the hashtag iContactSupport. All right, so without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to Sarah Stealey, our Senior Vice President of Customer Support. Sarah, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks so much, David. Good to be here.
Yeah, glad to have you here. And before we get started, why don't we tell everybody a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So I've been with iContact now for about 3.5 years, and I have to say, I just love this team. I love our customers. I love our company. Our vast department handles everything from learning and development, tech support, deliverability, billing, customer care, basically anything to help our customers use our software effectively and ensure that their email newsletters are getting into the inbox. So before moving to North Carolina, I lived and worked in LA and in the Philippines, and I've been managing customer support centers for probably about 15 years. You could say that I really like what I do.
That's great. And aside from the actual work aspect of what you do, you're also very community focused as well. Just want to let everybody know you were the recipient of the 40 Under 40 Business Award from the Triangle Business Journal this year. You are also the 2011 Triangle Leukemia and Lymphoma Society Woman of the Year. And also, on a fun note, if we removed all the community and everybody from around you and put you on a desert island, just wanted everybody to know that you would definitely take your Corgi Iona as well as a signed limited edition copy of a Stephen King novel. Do you know which one?
Yes, I do. I don't want to tell you what it is, though, because I don't want you to go looking for it.
I understand. Well, we'll go ahead and get started again. Thanks, everybody, for attending today. Sarah, I just wondered if you could start off maybe saying a few words about why customer service in general is important to every organization, no matter whether they're a small business, large business, nonprofit, things like that.
Absolutely. So the most important thing is that you have to be a differentiator. Most of us are in industries where we have lots of competitors offering similar products and services. And if you're in a really crowded space, or if your product is possibly considered a commodity, great support is absolutely necessary. The second thing is every interaction your customers have with you tests their loyalty. And we're going to really talk about this in a few minutes. But you gain loyalty and passionate customers, not from just doing your job, but from wowing them. That's what's going to drive them to have conversations about you online and in person with their friends, with their families, with people that they work with. And a bad customer experience can absolutely erase the memory of 100 good ones. Unfortunately, that one bad experience they have with you is the last thing they're probably going to remember. And then the last thing I really want to point out is that social media has actually made every interaction that you have with a customer a public one. So you have to keep that in mind. And also keep in mind, though, that it's not all scary. These days, customers are really surprised by good customer experience. And it's pretty easy to do, and we're going to talk about that.
Yes, we will. So why don't we get everybody on the road here to better customer service? And we'll start with the first of our 4 forces on your list, which is
perceptions. So you need to look at the perception of your organization from 2 angles. There's your perception of your company, and then there's the customer perception. And sometimes they do not equal. So what is the perception of your business? You just have to ask yourself a few questions, actually. So what is your business? Who is your customer? And what does your customer value? These first 3 are probably already in your business plan or in your company vision statement. So use them to answer the final question that's up there. And that is, how do I engage my employees to provide exactly what my customers value? The better you answer those first three, the better you'll answer the fourth one.
Great. And so, and again, that's your perception of the business, but then there's also the customer perception, right?
Absolutely, and I'm sure we've all seen this image before. So depending on how you look at it, you're either going to see a young woman turned away from you or an old woman looking straight at you. This image is a lot like your organization in that different people are going to perceive it in a slightly different way. And it's up to you. If you want to provide great customer service, your focus should be on owning and shaping that perception, rather than just leaving it up for others to decide. So make sure that every one of your customers has the right perception of your company.
And when you joined iContact, then your perception of the company maybe and the customer's perception of the organization may be a little different or from what it is now. Can you kind of maybe talk through what your perceptions were when you first joined the company?
Absolutely, and I think you actually raised a really good point. Customer service should be an evolution. It can't be something that's static. So what worked for you at your company, let's say 3.5 years ago, like when I joined, probably doesn't work exactly the same way, today. So back to your original question. Honestly, I think the perception of our customer and the perception of the organization was pretty similar. We had a really nice group of people who were only adequately trained and not very effectively led. So they did a really good job individually doing what they knew how to do. And while that was a good experience for most customers, it was often a very inconsistent one. And since we didn't measure success at that time, it was difficult for our managers to close the gaps. So the customers got exactly that. They got friendly, inconsistent service and advice.
And so that kind of became their expectation then as well. From their perception, it turns into their expectation, and that kind of leads us into the second force, correct?
Absolutely. And this is key. Customers expect nothing less than the following 6 things: courtesy and professionalism, understanding of the problem, recognition of impact, and this is where empathy comes in. The industry knowledge or the technical knowledge that's important for them to know about your product or your business. Coordination of resources. This is knowing, when do I bring in somebody else? When do I not know how to help you any further? Whether it's an escalation to a manager, whether it's calling up a partner, whether it's just figuring out exactly what that customer needs. And then it's just simply quality.
Again, these kind of relate. Even though we have a call center, right? Our customer support is based on a call center.
Right.
It still does apply to the small business, the brick and mortar business, nonprofits, things like that.
It's right. It doesn't matter if you own a restaurant, an online store, or a dry cleaner. Customers expect, not want, but they expect these 6 things every time they work with you. This needs to be your baseline.
And I along with those, I liked when we first discussed this webinar, the idea of this webinar. There were some rules of service that you mentioned to me, and I'm wondering if we can kind of briefly touch on this. I think everybody probably recognizes the first one here, right?
Exactly. So the golden rule, we've all heard it: do unto others as you would want them to do unto you. Seems pretty simple. And then there's the rule that's a step below that, even though we've put it a step above it.
Yeah.
But that's the bronze rule. And that says, do unto others as others have done unto you. So just listen to that very carefully. That's not the way you want to treat your customers. And it's best to really strive for the final rule, the platinum rule, which says, do unto others as they want done unto them. Basically, take that consistency that we just discussed and overlay it with a personal approach. But I'm probably getting ahead of myself because we're going to talk about that in a minute. There is one other way you can look at this, and that's through Maslow's hierarchy of service.
Right, and so we'll take a step back before we talk about the hierarchy of service. Just for those of you that haven't heard of Maslow, he was a psychologist. In the 50s, he suggested that everybody has a pyramid of needs where the most fundamental needs, as you see on the list below, breathing, food, water, sleep, that's kind of your base. And then as you go up higher on the pyramid, things like the need for self-actualization at the top. I know I don't want to bore you all with this stuff. I could talk about it forever, but what I'm going to do actually is skip this and tell you there's a person who adapted this pyramid. His name is Chip Conley in his book, Peak. It's a book that we recommend, and we'll talk about that here in a minute. But he also adapted that pyramid to a hierarchy of customer service. And Sarah, if you could maybe explain a little bit about that.
Absolutely, and I like this graphic, and even though your prior pyramid was a little busy, I like that one too, because it really shows that what happens in life and customer service are honestly not that dissimilar. So we can take those fundamental needs from Maslow and absolutely transform our customer support or our customer service, just as Chip Conley and Pike has described. So it shows that meeting those expectations is simply the foundation of great customer service. It basically means that if you're doing the bare minimum, you're going to keep your customers happy. And that's a good thing. But I guarantee you that somebody else is probably making them just as happy. So customers are really going to be fickle at this bottom stage of meeting expectations, and they're going to be easily swayed by a shinier object. And so you need to push them higher up that pyramid. Unfortunately, while loyalty and meeting desires is better, it still isn't good enough. Customers are going to be happy and loyal with you at that center stage, but they're not going to tell anybody about it. They keep that to themselves. So what you really need is that transformation. You need to create evangelists, because evangelists are going to scream your praises from basically the top of the pyramid. So let me tell you about an experience I had when I was in the Philippines. So I would go for weeks at a time, and I typically would stay at one of two hotels. And both treated me equally well, and I liked both of them, therefore equally. Sometimes I would be won over by price at one place, or maybe one of the hotels had the room I liked better, but in all honesty, I would have been happy staying at either. And then one trip changed everything. You see, the Peninsula Hotel was actually paying attention. They were writing things down, and they knew exactly what I liked. They knew that I liked flowers, so every time they started filling my room with flowers. They knew that I drank tons of bottled water, and so instead of just the requisite 2 bottles of water that they put in every room, I would get 10. And it was little touches like this that over time they kept adding to. And it didn't cost them a lot of additional money, but I guarantee you they not only created a loyal customer, they created an evangelist. They started doing things that I never even knew I wanted in a hotel before. And pretty soon I was telling everybody about it, and I was getting all of our clients and all of my fellow coworkers to stay there as well.
And I have to say that as far as an evangelist, it's definitely true, because when we, again, first started talking about this webinar, the first thing out of your mouth was, let me tell you about this hotel that I stayed at. It's a great example. And we're definitely going to have more of these examples of companies that provide great customer service in a few minutes. But why don't we go ahead and we'll move on. We've done 2 of the forces of customer service. Let's go on with the third one here. And that one is?
Company values. Every company needs to have very, very clear company values. And here's why. It honestly goes right back to that perception thing that we were discussing earlier. There is no easier way to get everybody aligned. If your employees are thinking, being, and acting out your clear values, your customers are going to get it too. So let me show you what our company values are.
All right, we'll pop them up on the screen here.
Thank you. So we call these our Wow Me values. Wow the customer, operate with urgency, work without mediocrity, make a positive wake, and engage as an owner. Every single one of our employees knows these and lives and breathes these. So the most important thing that we can do is wow our customers every day with every interaction. And the great thing is that if we follow, the other 4 values, chances are we're going to succeed with wowing the customer every time.
And tell me a little bit about how we actually measure wowing the customer. Do you wow the customer? How do you get that information from the customer?
Actually, it can be just that easy. And it's very circular. You have to measure and align at every turn. So after you call us, email us, or chat with us, we're going to send you out a CSAT survey, a customer satisfaction survey. And we actually ask each of these 5 things. So we want to know if we hit our Wow Me values in every customer interaction. We then take those scores, and we're going to use those as benchmarks with our senior management. And then we use them as feedback tools to coach our agents. And it doesn't stop there, though. So our quality assurance forms also act as a checks and balances to each one of these Wow Me values. We want to make sure we're helping the customer to the best of our capability in the fastest way to provide the most value and then we actually try to go above and beyond to truly make that wow experience. We may not be able to do it every time, but we're sure as heck trying.
So basically, it kind of boils down to just understanding how to manage that whole experience from start to finish. Every touch point that that you're talking to your customer from start to finish.
Absolutely, and that's actually our fourth force of customer service is the experience management side of things. So you have to remember that the customer experience goes so far beyond just that actual interaction with you. Yes, your customer engaged with you for a purpose, but it doesn't end there. So I really like this quote from the Successful Manager. A year from now, your customer may not remember what you said or what you did, but they will remember how you made them feel. So whether you're a small to mid-sized business, a nonprofit, you have to have a personal engagement with your customers. And in all honesty, social media may actually be the best and most economical way to do that because it allows you to personally engage with your customers and provide them with an experience long after they've walked out of your store and long after they've pressed confirm in your online shopping cart. If you're not using social media as part of your strategy, you have to. Get started. It is so easy. So, for example, the like button that we show up there. If you deploy the like button on your website or on Facebook and make it your friend, it is going to show you and show everyone else that people think you're awesome. So people want to work with companies that others like. They want to work with a company that makes them feel good too. And the like button basically says, I'm going to feel good if I work with you. So social media helps you understand the customers that you're serving. It's good for you to know if one of your customers like purple balloons or one of your customers has 8 German Shepherds. Believe it or not, no matter what kind of business you're in, that information is actually going to come in handy at some point. And you don't want to be too intrusive, but pay attention to little things like customer anniversaries, those past interactions they've had from you, and any other detail that you can think of that's actually going to elevate your next interaction with them.
Yeah, and the one thing I really like about that like button too is, back in the old days, before the like button, that when someone had something good to say or positive to say about your business, it was usually through word of mouth, right? Or maybe a letter or an email or something, but the like is very permanent. Once you've liked something, they've liked it forever, and it holds up over time.
And it's very public.
Yeah. Well, one way to improve your customer experience is to recognize them, and that's whether it's through social media mentions, whether it's tangible gifts, or maybe exclusive email offers. Now, I wanted to take this opportunity to maybe do a quick poll and just find out how many of you people are actually doing that right now. How many of you are actively recognizing your customers? There should be a poll up on your screen. Go ahead and just choose the answer that you like. We'll combine all the results, and the screen will change to show you those results. All right, so let's go ahead and see what the results of the poll are. And that's great. Over half of the respondents said that sometimes they do recognize their customers actively. It is up to the individual employees. And there's a 35%, so that's 80% of you that are definitely considering that. That's pretty amazing. Sarah, do you have anything you want to say about that?
Absolutely. So I think it's phenomenal that people are doing this, but I really want to strongly say that it's very important for you to build the parameters around recognizing your customers. It's awesome to leave it up to the employee, but give them guidance. Make it easy for them. So give them some tools, provide them with some easy ways of doing that, so that they don't have to think too hard about it. If it's at their fingertips, they're going to do it a lot more often.
Do you want to talk about
Sure.
a little bit about what we do here at iContact?
Sure. So one of the easy ways is that we actually monitor all social media channels, and we respond to customers very quickly. So if you tweet out that one of our team members did an awesome job, you're actually going to get a reply back from us thanking you. If you call in and one of our agents feels that they've made a connection with you. So if you call in, we help you through your problem, and or if we couldn't help you perhaps with your problem, but the employee just kind of feels like they want to do more for you, you might actually get an iContact care package, in the mail, or you might get a card telling you how much we appreciate your business. And like we talked about before, we pay very close attention to the little things, like your past experience with us, your anniversary. We make that stuff very visible to our employees. So when you call in, it's one of the first things that they can see. So we want to be able to talk to you about those things, and we want you to know that we're truly interested. So we've built all that stuff in place so that it's very easy for one of our customer service agents to just say, I'm going to send a card, or I want a package to go to this person.
That's awesome. And I think hopefully we've given everybody a little bit of an idea. If you have been thinking or haven't been thinking, maybe some different parameters that maybe you can build with your employees to actively recognize those customers. What we'll do is we're actually going to switch gears a bit here. We've been talking about giving great customer service. But what about dealing with the customers who themselves are really not that great? So in other words, we love all customers, but there are definitely times where some are difficult, right? So how do you manage that difficult customer?
And we want to say, and we want to believe that all customers are created equally. Sadly, it's not the case. But what it does, it goes back to meeting that customer's personal needs. And that's why I really like this quote that's on the screen. It's not that the customer is always right, but that the customer has to be treated with respect and dignity. If you treat the customer with respect and understand what they really need, you're going to own that situation. You're going to control it. There's an acronym, actually, that you can remember that may help you when you have a customer that's acting difficult. And it's called D.E.F.U.S.E. And trust me, from my experience, upset customers are actually a little easier to diffuse than you may think. And so here's how it breaks down. Don't lose your cool. Encourage customers to vent. Find out the facts. Understand their feelings. Suggest a way to fix the problem. Very, very important, even if you need to come up with alternatives. And then end it on a positive note. And then the only thing I want to add to this is that you should never, ever tolerate profanity or abuse from a customer. If that happens, and it happens over the phone, you need to politely explain to that customer that, that's not how you operate business, and that's not the language, that you use, and that you would politely like them to not, use that type of language, going forward. Most of the time, customers don't even realize that they've used profanity, and they may actually backtrack and start apologizing immediately. And if that happens, great. Chances are you're going to be able to just build off of that, and you're going to move on. If they don't, one warning.
Right.
And then just politely say, I'm going to have to end this interaction.
Yeah. And along with that, I'm glad that don't lose your cool is the first point also, right? I mean, because once you've lost your cool with a customer, you've pretty much lost that whole...
That battle is just going to continue, and in fact, it's just going to accelerate. So if you hold it together, you can absolutely control the situation.
That's great. And so let's take a look at some companies actually who are in control of their situation. They're the ones who handle customer service the right way. And our first is one that is synonymous with service, and that is Zappos. And I'm sure everybody has heard of Zappos. I'm going to go ahead. We do have a few video examples here on the screen. What I'm going to do is play this video. Hopefully it's going to come through. It's only about a 30 second to 1 minute clip for each of these videos. The first one, this is Tony, the CEO of Zappos, talking about his organization.
Most people know us as an online footwear company, but internally we actually think of ourselves pretty differently. We're hoping 10 years from now people don't even realize that we started out selling shoes online. And in fact, today we actually sell a lot more than shoes. We sell clothing, even electronics, houseware, kitchenware. And really, we just want the Zappos brand to be about the very best customer service and the very best customer experience. And it actually doesn't even have to be limited to online. We've even had customers email us and ask us if we would please start an airline or run the IRS. And we're not going to do either of those things this year, but 20, 30 years from now, I wouldn't rule out Zappos Airlines. That's just about the very best customer service.
And so Tony's talking about customer service as a big component of Zappos. And in fact, if you were to take that away, what would they be? They'd be a shoe warehouse, right?
Absolutely. It's no accident that their slogan is powered by service and not powered by shoes. That is the way their entire organization operates, from top to bottom. They are all about the powered, by service. And they've done something so exceptionally well in that they've turned their customers into advocates. These are people, you know, who are out there just screaming about Zappos and how phenomenal it is. So they have a lot of evangelists, you know, and it basically goes right back to that hierarchy of needs pyramid.
Awesome. Well, so we have another example here, and that is KLM Airlines. They are the Royal Dutch airline. Some of you may not have heard of them. But what they decided to do, they decided to actively engage their customers at the point at which they've had the most frustration, that is during the layover or waiting for their flight. So let's take, just another minute or minute and a half to take a look at this video from KLM.
Welcome to KLM Surprise. Armed with our social media toolkit, our little experiment began. First job. Find KLM passengers who had checked into their flight via one of KLM's Foursquare locations or left a message through Twitter. Second job. Search their social profiles, get to know them in a discreet manner, to think of a personalized gift. Nothing fancy like a house or a sports car. Just small stuff. Carry-on size stuff.
Omdat zij een heel sportief iemand is en een weekend Rome gaat doen, dan is het misschien leuk als we haar zo'n Nike Plus bandje geven. Ja, wel heel leuk. Dan heb je dat niet nodig. Linda Bomhoff. Goedemiddag. Je liet ons weten via Twitter dat je met ons reist vandaag. Ja. Dus we hebben een kleinigheidje voor je gekocht. Nou, wat leuk. Om je een hele fijn weekend is het geloof ik, hè? Fijn weekend. Fijn weekend te wensen. En omdat je sportief bent kun je daar de afstand meten en hoe lang je erover doet.
Hartstikke leuk. Maar ik zit er al, die goed voor is.
Hoi. Ben je klaar voor New York?
Ja.
Je liet via Twitter weten dat je naar New York ging. We hebben gewoon iets kleins voor je, een kleinigheidje. Niet schrikken hoor.
Super, dankjewel. Ik zal dat meteen getwitterd gedaan.
After several weeks of handing out little gifts, a few things became apparent. In the age of social media, doing something that creates a real smile on somebody's face is much cooler than attaching a smiley face. But most importantly, it seemed that indeed an airline could use social media to both surprise and make a small difference to a passenger's day. And we're not just guessing that. We know. Because they told us. And their friends. Massively.
Okay, so that's KLM Airlines, and there are probably a few takeaways from there too.
Oh, and all it is little things, you know, make a big difference, you know, to your customers. Take an experience that, you know, you might not even have control over. In this situation, KLM decided that, you know, the worst experience as part of the flying, you know, the entire process was sitting at the airport. They turned it into an awesome experience. And the last few things, you know, in that video are people talked about it and they told their friends.
Yep. All right, so our next example is Ramon DeLeon. Now, we were talking about difficult customers before. He is a general manager, I believe, at a Dominos Pizza in Chicago. So we're going to kind of the local business here, the local neighborhood business. There was a customer of his who tweeted that the pizza was late, it wasn't right. And so what he decided to do was take to social media, put a video out apologizing. So we'll take a look at his apology here.
Hey, what's up, world? This is DPZ Ramon, and right now I'm here with Ernesto Arroyo, better known as Junior, and we're at our Domino's Pizza store in Lincoln Park at 2231 North Lincoln Avenue. The reason that we're here today is I wanted to send a video message as an apology to Amy Corrin, and I hope I didn't get that last name wrong, but known as Interactive Amy. First of all, thank you very much for allowing us the opportunity to serve you last night. But unfortunately, as I explained to you, Junior, you know, we dropped the ball on one of our pizzas. Yeah. You know, I have reached out to you. I apologize that it took me an hour to see your first tweet, and we did exchange information in the morning today. But Amy, let me tell you, I got your back. I have reviewed this with Ernesto, better known as Junior again, and he is committed, just as I am committed, to turning this negative situation around. Next time you have a pizza need, you can either call the store, or better yet, just send me a direct message on Twitter, and again, I'm going to send you my information. And Junior, we have got to do everything possible to wow her.
I will. I'll do anything to reach my limits You know, you're my supervisor. I've been in this for 11 years already. I know what to do. I apologize once again. 1 hour is really not acceptable. I apologize, so I'm trying to do it right, make it better even.
And make it better, even better. I love that phrase. So as far as this one goes, Sarah, anything that you want to point out?
The thing to really pay attention to here is, monitor those social experiences, know what your customers are saying about it, and then make it right. Own up to your mistakes. This was a clear example of, an issue that was easily rectified. And so they made right by the customer, they apologized, and that customer then said, you know what, not only am I not going to tarnish your reputation, I am going to talk about how fantastic you are.
And part of that is, you don't see that in the story, but after he sent this out, he actually sent out 350 pizzas to an organization that she works with very closely.
Wow.
To improve the apology. So that's
fantastic.
an amazing thing. We have one last example here, and that is Pike Place Fish Market. Many of you may have heard of them. They're in Seattle. Basically, they're a fish market, and they decided they would become world famous one day, and as part of that, they decided to make the customer experience fun. And so what you're going to see here on the screen is just a very small snip of that kind of fun that they do, which is throwing the fish around.
You say, no, it's close.
Bring back Jack! Bring back Jack!
And you probably couldn't tell from the video there, but that last fish was a fake fish, a rubber fish. So they get everybody used to the throwing, and then they throw out a rubber fish to the crowd. So a lot of really good experience here for the customers, right, Sarah?
Absolutely. So they engage the customer. They asked the customer to actually be part of the overall experience. They wanted the customers to come up with creative ways, and that's where the tossing of the fish actually came into play. And they asked, customers to upload these videos, onto Facebook and onto YouTube, and that engages more customers. It looks like a really fun place that you want to go to.
And you notice we do have all these video examples that we provide, and we actually, as an organization, are using video as well. You'll notice here on this screen, we like to keep up to date with how we're doing. These are some new initiatives that we have. Sarah, if you want to maybe explain them a little bit more in detail.
Absolutely. So you brought up the video thing, so I'll talk about that first, because this is so much fun. We asked customers to send us a quick little video telling us about how iContact customer support has helped their business succeed. I have to say, check them out. Or even better yet, submit your own. You could win an iPad.
Yeah, definitely.
They're so much fun to watch, and it's a great way for our customers to directly tell our agents that they matter. Let's face it, one thing we didn't talk about today, but what's really important, is that happy employees make happy customers. So if you tell an employee that they did a great job, I guarantee you that the smile on their face is going to be seen and heard all day long. And that relates right back to this other thing that we have on the screen, and that is our customer satisfaction. So we are so proud of our CSAT scores. We are so proud of the experience, that we're providing our customers, and we are so proud of the input that our customers are giving us that we're making it very visible. So you can actually go to our customer satisfaction tab under support, and you can see in real time how we're doing.
That's awesome. And so these are just a few tools that we're using. We want to go through some other tools that you can use so that you have your own success stories. We'll go ahead and start with this first one here. I'm sure that there's some tools you want to recommend, Sarah. We'll go ahead and show that first one here.
Absolute. So the first is an absolute must. If you want to, if you're going to be monitoring your social networks, which you better be doing, because it's absolutely going to help shape, your organization's perception. Go ahead and download either Hootsuite or TweetDeck, 2 free applications that can help you with that. Really easy to use, and again, they're free. So the great thing is also that the majority of our audience is already using iContact, and they can add like and tweet buttons to their email marketing messages. They can then post those email messages automatically to Facebook and Twitter and track the reach of those messages. So you can do that all from our application.
And then the next set of tools would be customer and employee feedback, things like we were talking about with our score.
Absolutely. So another way to improve that experience is by asking both your customers and your employees how you can provide better service. So every iContact account allows you to create surveys. So you can post a link to a public survey for your customers or create a private survey for your employees. If you need help with determining what questions to ask, I highly recommend going out and doing an internet search for customer satisfaction survey questions, or do what we did and utilize your values or something else that's really key to your company. But by doing both surveys, you're going to get a good idea where to get started. And as I mentioned, you have to survey both internally and externally. Remember, happy employees make happy customers. And that'll erase that possibility that there's a disconnect in that perception that we talked about earlier. So, see, it all ties back together.
Exactly. And you also want to make every interaction personal, right? I mean, that's part of the function of social media as well. So, the last set of tools we have to talk about that.
Exactly. So make it as personal as possible. Pay attention to your customers' interests because they're going to give you some really great insight as to why people are doing business with you. It may be really hard to provide a personal touch when you have hundreds or thousands of customers, but one way is just to maintain a database of your customer interactions. So iContact is essentially a database of your contacts already. So you can use custom fields and segments to remember your customer interests. Those little things matter. For example, I just moved into a new condo and I had AT&T U.V.E.S.E installed. The installer was, doing his job, but happened to notice, a very large bookcase that I have in my living room. And he noticed that I like the Dark Tower series of books. So, when I needed to call him recently for a technical issue that arose after my installation, he jokingly referred to me by one of the book's characters. So it created this instant connection with me. It made me laugh, which then diffused, the fact that I was annoyed in the first place. So, here I am laughing and now talking to him about the issue I was calling about. I mean, phenomenal customer service and a great personal connection.
And again, you're talking about it right now, so they made an evangelist out of you. So
it did.
So these work. Everything works. A couple other things maybe we can suggest some different books that people can go to if they're interested in learning more.
Sure. So we already talked quite a bit about Pike by Chip Conley. I highly suggest picking it up. It's a phenomenal read. Delivering Happiness, A Path to Profits, Passion, and Purpose. That's by the CEO of Zappos.
Yep.
So again, something that we've discussed. And then two that are really about creating evangelists. Raving Fans and The Happiness Hypothesis. Pick them up. They're great reads about customer service and just truly about infiltrating it throughout your whole organization.
That's great. All right. Well, what we'll do is I know we've given everybody a lot to digest here. We're going to go ahead and move into the Q&A portion of our program. We have a lot of really great questions. We'll go through them really quick. The first was asking about the 4 forces of customer service, and we'll go over those again really quick. It's the perceptions of your organization, whether it's from your customer's perspective or your perspective. The customer's expectations, and there were a list of 6 of them, which we'll talk about shortly again. Your company values, as well as managing that customer experience, the experience management. Along with that, we had some questions, I believe, asking about the application itself, which we are more than happy to have our customer support folks reach out to you directly. Just simply provide us with your, I think we have their customer information. So we will actually just go ahead and get in touch with you directly, okay?
Absolutely. So if you have a specific question about the application, go ahead and ask it here. And what we'll do is we'll actually have one of our fantastic Tier 2 technical support representatives call you or email you directly and set some time so that you can get your questions answered. We want to provide you the best possible customer service that we can.
All right. And Daniel, I think we do have a few other questions we asked. Go ahead and whatever you see up there, feel free to fire away.
So the first question comes from David. He asks, what specific reward or recognition systems do you have in place to drive strong customer service at iContact?
We do a couple of different things from a reward standpoint. So a few of those I mentioned where we'll send out actual gifts to customers. We'll send out cards to them. We've also got it where we can actually send direct emails talking about the appreciation we have for them. We also we have a program that we call our Employee Empowerment Toolkit. And it's basically a way that our agents can go ahead and make suggestions on things that they want to provide a customer. It might be a discount, it might be, an iContact t-shirt, but something that just rewards those customers, for actually being customers of ours.
And there are probably a lot of businesses out there, I would imagine, that have actual rewards programs.
Yes.
You hear of like airline mileage rewards
Points
and things like that.
yeah.
Absolutely. And so you could definitely set up something like that. Would be a great way for you to retain the customers that you have. Daniel, is there any other questions there?
Yeah, there is. Can you talk a little bit more about how you would use Hootsuite or TweetDeck? We actually had another attendee ask about co-tweet. So how would you use any of those services?
Well, Hootsuite and TweetDeck, we actually utilize those, within our Tier 3 team as we're, taking a look at, what customers are saying about us. The great thing about these two tools, apart from the fact that they're both free, is that they will take from every social media channel what customers are saying. So you don't have to go out individually, to Twitter or individually to Facebook, or to your blog or LinkedIn. It will suck all of those comments, anywhere that your name is out there. It'll bring them all into one single interface. And you can also answer tweets and Facebook and all of that directly out of TweetDeck and Hootsuite. So it's a very effective, easy to use tool.
Very good.
Okay, so we have a couple more questions. Justin asks, is there such a thing as too much customer service? When do you decide to pull back on the reins?
And that's actually a great question. You don't want to spend too much time. You don't want to spend too much time on one individual customer if it's ultimately not going to prove effective for your business. You need to make those distinctions based on the ROI that you have internally. I can't exactly tell you that you can 5 minutes or 5 hours or 5 days. That's something that is very personal to your organization. But I do highly recommend that you spend a lot of time with your very high valued customers and also with the customers who can teach you some things. Do focus groups. If you've got customers who reach out to you very, very often, try to figure out a different approach for them. That is where we've created user groups here. So we'll take those very chatty customers and bring them in and say, hey, you've got so much feedback to offer us. Let's do it in a controlled environment. Let's do it in a way that not only are we learning, but maybe other customers can learn from them as well. There's also webinars such as this, online tutorials, other ways that you can give customers an opportunity to self-help, so that it isn't always a one-on-one interaction. Because for a small business, you may not have that resource. And so you have to be able, to pick and choose in that way.
And along with that, there's also like a distinction between maybe acquiring a customer while you're trying to make them a customer versus after they are a customer of yours. And so the amount and level of interaction you have with someone prior to them actually becoming a customer, even though you're engaged with them, it's different than if they are a customer of yours and you're keeping them engaged.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, and another question from Deborah. She asks, is your support staff located in the United States?
We have a large portion of our support staff located here, actually in Morrisville, North Carolina. And then we also have some teams that are located internationally. We've needed, to get, some foreign language supports that we couldn't find here. And we're also looking to actually expand our hours. One of the things that our customers have really been asking for are weekends and nights and, more hours for customer support. And so some of that we are, working with a partner so that we can actually provide that for you.
Okay, and that looks like that's the last question we have. So again, I want to reach out to anybody that does have questions about customer support or iContact, the application. We'll definitely reach out to you. But beyond that, I want to thank everybody for attending today's presentation. I definitely want to thank our guest, Sarah Stealey, Senior Vice President of Customer Support for iContact. Thank you so much for doing this. This has been a blast.
Thank you. It's been fun.
And we hope you found this presentation to be very helpful. Thanks again for all your time today. We wish you all the best with providing great customer service to your donors, customers, and guests. Have a great day.
Thank you.